Halloween
Forever.
Hey, Steve, what's up?
Hey, Brian, how's it going?
It's going all right. It's going all right. Hey, sorry, jumped on a little late there. I was having problems with my printer.
Oh, yeah?
My inkjet.
What's wrong with
having
it?
one of them problems. It's been just printing like scary stories in the middle of the night.
Oh.
But for some reason they're all in Braille. It's creepy as fuck. Yeah. It's giving me goosebumps.
Hey.
Welcome, boys and girls, to another fucking Minisode of Halloween's Forever. I'm Brian.
I'm Steve.
Knew you. I didn't want to give you too much time because you were going to pick up on that one. I could tell you could.
Yeah.
I could see in your eyes. You knew where I was going. The Braille. Maybe that line didn't need to be there. I'm not sure.
No. I think no. The Braille's necessary because it needs to.
Yeah,
you
it's
need
got to
know
because
the
the
bumps.
texture, right?
You got to know the bumps. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those. Listen, it's not. It's a mediocre piece of business, that joke right there. All right.
Can I give it maybe just a little punch up?
Punch it up, baby. Punch it up.
Just a little tiny one.
Take it to the writer's room here.
Yeah, you say the printer is printing you out stories in Braille. But what if the printer is printing you out avian stories in Braille?
Avian?
Avian, because that's birds.
Oh, avian. Okay.
Goosebumps. It's giving me goosebumps.
Gotcha. Avian. Yeah. Story about geese. Yeah, it needs punched up. It needs reworked. I'll come back with the same joke, slightly tweaked next episode. Don't worry, guys.
You're Patton Oswalt. Fix our goosebumps joke.
Please fix this joke. I need it bad. I can't start from scratch on this. Up against the deadline. All right. Welcome, guys, to another Minisode here. This is going to be a really fun one. If you didn't look at that little title on the old podcast app you just clicked on, if you didn't look at that, we're going to be talking to an old friend of the podcast, a repeat guest on the show, the director that's been on the show at this point more than anybody else. We talked about his movies in the past. We talked about CarousHell. We talked about CarousHell 2. We talked about Amityville Christmas Vacation. And we are going to have on the show once again, director of the relatively recent release Shingles the movie, as well as CarousHell 3 premium Steve himself. Steve Rudzinski is going to be on the podcast here tonight, so we're going to jump over to our conversation with Steve here in a few minutes, guys, and we're going to talk about his release from earlier this year, Shingles the movie, which was really, really fun. But before we do that, we got a couple other fucking little bits of business we got to deal with here first. Steve, do you got a beer? Are you consuming a beer?
I'm consuming a beer. And I think this beer might put you on your heels a little bit.
Oh, no shit. All right.
Because it's absolutely Zoom Zoom juice.
No shit.
It's Zoom Zoom juice, but it's from one of your favorite breweries.
Oh, now I'm all horned up. What do you got?
Yeah. It is a Belgian-style golden ale, aged in bourbon barrels, 10.2%.
Okay, can I guess?
Go ahead.
Is this Allagash Curio?
It is Allagash Curio.
Ooh, called it. Yeah, there's not a lot of Belgian golden ales aged in bourbon barrels out there, and that also would be characterized as my favorite brewery. I actually was fortunate enough to drink that beer right out of the barrels with a whiskey thief with Rob Todd at Allagash one time, and it was so fucking much fun, and we got drunk. Rob Todd's like my fucking beer hero as well, so that was super, super fun. And I'm going up there next week. I'll be up in Maine. I'll be more in like the Bangor area. I'm gonna shoot up to Salem on the way up there because we're going into Boston and then we're gonna drive up to Maine. So we're gonna shoot over to Salem, do some spooky shit, maybe fucking hail Satan for a while, summon some demons, and then I think me and my brother are gonna go on a little Stephen King guided tour around Bangor and go to some of the dairy, quote unquote dairy locations from some of his books. So that should be really fun.
Yeah.
So I'll be up in Allagash country.
Nice. Yeah, I picked this one up with the Allagash Day's End. And it's because, like, There's one Giant Eagle that has like the dog shittest mix and match selection. Mm-hmm. But also because it's the dog shittest, sometimes they just don't know what they have. And they'll just...
Yeah, this is the places where you were getting like stovepipes of like...
Yeah.
Big Bad Baptist or some shit.
Right,
I don't remember.
Yeah, they just don't know what they have. So sometimes they just put like total grenades in there from really good breweries, and you go, well, yeah, of course I'm gonna take you for all your money on this one.
Yeah, $2.99, Curio or whatever. I'll take that shit all day.
Yeah, $1.99 Curio and Day's End. All right, suckers.
You know what's weird? Curio is legit one of my favorite beers in the world. It is world-class beer. It's unbelievable beer. But if almost anywhere else in the world I was and somebody was like, you want to try my bourbon barrel-aged golden strong ale? I'd go, no, dude, fuck you.
No, pass.
Because just no one's going to be able to pull that off. That is like maybe the most impossible thing to pull off, and they do it so well. And that beer is, chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah, it's got all that, it's got all that lovely funk on the nose, and like it's not too hot, and it's a great beer.
Yeah, it's got bourbon character, but it's subtle. Like they just know how to, it's like Allagash White. They know how to do subtlety, which very few American breweries know how to do, which is very cool. Speaking of New England, we've got a little theme going here. Ooh. I am actually, I am drinking a Sidey, one of them Sidey boys, but I have not had this one before. Guys, it's mid August. It's mid to late August at this point, which means it's pretty much fall, which means it's, listen, I'm already shitting green because I'm eating only blueberry.
Yep.
You would think blueberry would make your shit blue.
No,
makes it green. And I'm drinking some Sidey's. I've got, this is the first one I've had from Shaxbury Cider, which is from Vermont. Where in Vermont? Oh, Shaxbury Cider. Oh my gosh. Vergennes, Vermont. I don't know.
No idea.
Shaxbury. It's called the Gold Standard Classic Dry Cider, the Gold Standard. I don't know if it's called Classic or it's called the Gold Standard, but I think it's called Classic because it's big letters, but it's a dry cider. And that's what attracted me to it because, I love a dry cider and you just can't find that many. So many of them are just candy sweet.
Yeah.
This is really, really nice. I could drink a whole fucking mess of this. And what's the ABV on it too? Now I'm curious. Ooh. 5.2. Pretty moderate.
That's not bad at all.
You could crush these. Yeah. So it's quite nice. I grabbed some Sidey's, some pumpkin beers, all that yummy stuff from Vintage Estates. So working my way through those.
Yeah. Anytime I think dry cider, I think of like Fighting Alec from Arsenal in our area. And like that one's like 8 to 10% or some shit like that. So
that's
like,
a big son of a bitch.
This is good, but also it'll knock you out.
Yeah, no, this is super sessionable. USDA organic, guys, too. If that's important to you, yeah, check this one out. It's fucking really good. They had a few ciders from this spot. I'm definitely going to go back and check them out. Pick up a few more. So, first Sidey of the season, boys. First Sidey of the season.
First Sidey for you.
For me.
I was drinking that crazy coffee pepper cider, coffee cherry peppers, whatever.
Yeah, I was gonna say you were drinking some Gloop Glop cider fucking since the jump.
Yeah.
Okay. Couple other things we got to do. First of all, guys, we have a topic for our September Showdown. I am hard to believe we're already talking about September. That's fucking full on spooky season. People like to argue with me when I say August is the beginning of spooky season. They say, no, it's not. That's summer. And I say, shut your fucking mouth right now. But September, can't even argue. That's full on. That's when the fall starts, brother. So I know that's when spooky season starts, and don't come at me about it. That is going to be, and we know what our showdown topic for September is going to be. Before we do that, to remind you, if you want to help us pick these here showdown topics in the future, or you want to suggest any topics for minisodes or whatever, follow us on the social medias, on the Instagrams, on the Twitters or the X's, TikToks. We even got what the fuck is the other one? I always forget the name of. The Threads. The Threads. Shit has been tight, continues to be tight on the Threads. And then if you want to shoot us an email, HalloweenIsForeverPod@gmail.com. You can do that as Well, send us some suggestions. We put them on a big old spinny ass wheel on the intranet. We spin that wheel. We get 3 topics. We put them on the social medias, on our Instagram stories and on a Twitter poll. We combine those votes, and whichever of those 3 is the top vote getter, that's our showdown topic for the month. Steve, myself, whoever the hell our guest is, we each pick a movie, show, whatever the fuck pick that is associated with that topic. We all watch all them movies or episodes or whatever the hell they are. And then during that showdown episode, we argue, we go wild, we fucking hang vertical suplex each other on the thumbtacks and barbed wire and all that stuff. Somehow he takes home that son of a bitch and strap for the month. This is a weird month, guys, because Anthony, our guest from last, they call that movie from August, he took home that son bitch and belt. So we're feeling a little empty. We're feeling a little depressed. We're feeling a little naked over here. The belt not being with Steve or myself. So we're going to take that son bitch back in September. And the topic with which we were going to take that son bitch and strap back was pretty much a runaway. I'll remind you real quick what the topics were. We had 80s slasher one-hit wonders, which is basically any 80s slasher movie that didn't have a sequel, didn't have a franchise built around it, didn't have, remakes and all those sorts of things. It was just a one-hit wonder, one and done type of situation, and it deserves a little bit more attention. We also had horror comedies, and we had horror noir. So that was, black horror, African-American horror. But not surprising, 80s slashers one-hit wonder really ran away with it because the kids on the streets, they do like the 80s horror, the 80s slasher movies. So that should be a fun one for the month of September. And then I guess we got a little time to think about it. Are we going to go back to the old John Carpenter fishbowl in October again?
So
we did that a couple times. Yeah,
we've done that a couple times, and I think we're a little bit almost out.
Things a little thin over there.
Little thin, and I have an idea for something special for October that we can talk about. I don't know if I'm ready to reveal it yet.
Okay. But
I want to start maybe adding some new match types. If we're bringing in new guests, and this is partly because Anthony took home the title from us.
Son of a bitch.
I think at some point we have to have some sort of unification match.
Oh yeah,
we'll have to have a unification match. But also, I think October is a good chance to have something special for the audience because it is October. So I think. But what I have in mind though, we can't go back to the John Carpenter wheel. We are gonna have to do something else. We need like a big berth of movies that we can grab from.
We need something. We need something different because we thinned that sumbitch out over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Maybe we do a Royal Rumble type situation here on the Discord where every 3 minutes, every 6 minutes, maybe we got to stretch it out to 10. A new person comes on and argues theirs, and then the people on the Discord pick it, and then that person gets kicked out, and it's a Royal Rumble situation.
That's definitely an idea I had as well. Royal Rumble match, and I think that's like. We could do that in January to help people get through the January doldrums. So
I like that.
Yeah, I'm looking at.
So you're saying ladder match. You're saying ladder match.
Yeah, I'm thinking new match types. How do we get this going? Because
electrocution match,
Texas Death Match,
old time WCW electrocution match.
Three cages stacked on top of each other. David Arquette, Oliver Platt coming off. I will rule you, diamond upside down as a pussy.
I like where this is going. It's going to be fucking unhinged during spooky season this year, guys. All right. So if you got any suggestions for 80s slasher one-hit wonders, I got a couple, rolling around the old noggin. If you got any suggestions, if you want to send them to me, send them to Instagram. If you want to send them to Steve, send them over on the X, the artist formerly known as Twitter. Send them our way. We'll take them into consideration. I've not wrapped up my choice, but next week's showdown, we will tell you what our picks are going to be. So, okay. Also, for those of you who are new, maybe you took a little break. Unacceptable. First of all, don't let it happen again. But if you have, we got a Patreon now, guys. This is the time to sign up for the Patreon because spooky season is coming. We're going to have some extra special content for our Patreon subscribers. You go to Halloween is Forever. Patreon.com/Halloween is Forever. Steve, tell the folks what kind of bullshit you cooked up over there for us on the Patreon.
Hell yeah. So if you come over on our Patreon and you sign up, we got 2 tiers right now. For now. Mm-hmm. First tier, scamps, $3 a month.
Scamps.
You sign up to be a scamp.
I put a little echo on there.
That's okay. Yeah, you gotta sell it a little bit. Yeah.
All right.
But you sign up to be a scamp, you get a couple 2-3 extra things. You're gonna have ad-free episodes. You're gonna have like an extra vote when it comes to voting for showdowns.
What?
What? You're gonna have and like a couple extra articles here and there. Like I do extra reviews for movies that don't make the show, things like that. Mm-hmm. But bread and butter is the $5 Rascal tier. Sign up on the Rascal tier. Get all the things I just mentioned.
Oh yeah.
Then you get on the Discord. Get on the Discord. You can be a rascal on the Discord. You can be a rascal with us. You can talk to us. Mm-hmm. You can talk to us during
rascally
shows.
Stuff.
Yeah. You can watch shows live, which gets you all kinds of fun things like watching us drink the beers, looking what our guest is up to, seeing how our guest.
I'll show you my nipples.
Yeah. You can see Brian's nipples and you can see all his Halloween stuff.
They're bigger than you think.
And they point inward. You wouldn't know.
Oh, you wouldn't know, but they are inverted. One of them is. I'll never tell.
It's up for you to find out.
Which one, I mean.
But you get all that. You get all the Discord benefits. And you also get the monthly exclusive Family is Forever podcast.
Oh, boy.
Where we watch all of the Fast and the Furious franchise. And Brian hates his life.
Not back to back. Not in succession, because if that was the case, I would already been dead. But yeah, this is, we've done one. We did the first episode. It's already out. We did that in July. And then we're about to do Too Fast, Too Furious for September. And then I think we're going Tokyo Drifting for August. I'm sorry. Yeah. And then September, we're going Tokyo Drifting, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then for October,
these movies suck, guys. Don't think they're good. They're bad. They're all bad. I've only seen one and I can tell they're all bad, but it is fun to talk about them and talk about how fucking stupid they are and how much I hate them. So that was fun.
Look, I am excited because September, we're going Tokyo Drifting. October, that's where we get the gritty reboot. And then November, we get Fast 5. Fast 5 is when it all takes off. Is
that when shit gets popping?
This is when shit gets popping.
Okay.
So November, man, that's what it's going to be. But you got to sign up now. Get on this. Don't fall behind.
Get on the ground level, guys. You got to get on the ground level. All right. Yeah. So if you like the show and if you want to hear more of us, support your boys. Go over on the Halloween is Forever Patreons, patreon.com/Halloween is Forever. Help us out. Throw us a few bucks, a few paper monies. We'll give you some content. It'll be fun. All right. Anything else before we jump into our interview?
Nah, we're solid.
Yeah, I think we're all wrapped up here. All right, guys, we are going to jump over to our interview and our discussion of Shingles, the movie from earlier this year, and our discussion with director and Fangoria Chainsaw Award winner, Steve Rudzinski. Ladies and gentlemen, let's jump on over and listen to that son bitch. All right. Welcome once again, Premium Steve. We got our old pal, Premium Steve, back here.
I'm back, baby.
We got a whole assortment of Steves here. I love it. Listen, every once in a while I get to be in a Steve sandwich, and I get to be the meat, baby, and here we are. So we got our old friend back on the show to talk about a new movie that just released not terribly long ago, and then some upcoming projects. For those of you who've been faithful fans of the show, not these son of a bitchin' bandwagon Halloween fans that come around like leafers up in upstate New York. just showing up in the spooky season. For Yins who listen to the show on the regular, Steve's been on a couple times. We talked about a couple of his flicks. Most recently, we talked about, I'm trying to remember the order. We talked about Amityville Christmas Vacation, I think, last time around, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is what this guy's for.
Yeah. I was just about to bring that up. That's awesome, because we also covered the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards, on which you were a guest and an award recipient.
Yes.
And also we agreed, and we're biased because obviously we know you, but we've said you stole the show. It was by far the best segment. So yeah, I would love to hear a little bit before we get into Shingles the movie, which is your most recent one. Tell us about that experience. That had to be pretty fun.
So I was reached out to by the editor-in-chief of Fangoria, and he let me know. Well, first they let me know that I was nominated, which was nice. And he sent me a message on Twitter saying like, "Hey, so you won. Like we count on the votes. You win by far," which was a nice feeling, because I definitely told my fans, but there's also a lot of total strangers on Twitter saying like, "No, seriously, this is the best one. Like, I'm voting for this one. Please vote for this one. This one's actually good out of this selection." I was like, okay, great. He says, "Sorry, so are you local in LA? Because we're going to be doing the award show here." And I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm in the Pittsburgh area. But the award show's in May. I can definitely fly out." He's like, "Actually, the award show is next weekend in March."
That's nice. It's always nice to hear,
because we shoot it in March so that we can get it all cut together and ready for May. And good thing they did, because of the strikes, they wouldn't be able to do the show at all.
Right.
That's true. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
There's a lot of people calling Fangoria scabs and shit, and everyone had to be like, "No, we shot this in March. We shot this before the was on strike."
Do you know how you can tell it's not live, right? I mean, you dumb bastards.
But anyway, so I was like, well, he said I could just set in a video acceptance, but I was like, no, I gotta be there. I've never believed that I would get a Fangoria Chainsaw Award. This is the Oscars for horror guys. So I'll get out there. It was the most expensive plane ticket I ever bought, because I've never bought a plane ticket with less than 4 months notice. It was great. My wife came home that day and said, "Hey, so next Friday I'm flying to California." Also, side note, I asked, like, "So where in LA is it? Because I really want to know where I can fly into." And he said, "It's actually in Burbank." I'm like, "Oh, thank God." Fucking hate LAX. Any excuse to fly to Burbank is a 5 out of 5. But my wife gets home and I'm like, "Hey, so next Friday I'm flying to Southern California because we won. So I got to go to the award show and accept it so that I can be a clown and get attention." And she says, "Okay, I wish I can go with you, but I can't afford that. I can't do it with short notice. Just do me a favor and don't go to Disneyland without me." I already asked my friend Kyle, who lives up there, and I haven't seen it. And I bought 2 Disneyland tickets before you even came home.
You can't put that up. Yeah, if you would have said it before the tickets, of course I would have taken that into consideration.
And it probably ignored it.
So, I'm not saying would have followed it, but you're taking it into consideration.
Got there on the Friday, smooth flight. Went to Disneyland, had a great time. Didn't get to stay as long as I usually do because I was exhausted and I landed later than I would have liked to get to the park. But it was great choice. Glad I did it. Rode Splash Mountain one last time before the reset.
Well, there you go.
I've never gotten a drop of water on me the entire time I've ridden that ride, and all the 28 times I've been to that park. It made up for lost time, my last ride, because I was soaked. Head to toe soaked.
I've never been to Disneyland. I've been to Disney World. I actually just went in October, and we didn't. My kids are too young, and they wouldn't be down for it. But I do remember it as a kid riding it, and I feel like I got wet. But that might have just been me, like, imagining everything way more dramatic than it actually was.
Well, I mean, I think part of it was just I always, like, strategize. I was like, oh, I'm going to stay in here so that I'm in the back. And then when I'm in the back, I'm going to lift my feet up underneath the ramps. And since I'm in the back, on the water splashing the people in front of me, dry as a bone, baby. I just like the ride. This time I was put in the front.
Yeah. Oh, that's the ticket. All right.
And that'll do it. Anyway, but yeah, so that was a great day. Autumn Ivy, they lived like more in Arizona, and it was the same thing. The Fango guy was like, "Oh, Autumn, we worked with you before. You were in LA, right? Come to the award show." And they were like, "No, you live in Arizona." But they reached out to me and was like, would it be okay if I come? Because this is your movie. I just kind of made a cameo. I said, hell yeah, because otherwise I'll be alone.
Yeah, I was going to say, a lot easier to stand up there shoulder to shoulder with somebody, I'm sure.
Right. So they came out, and so a guy that I know, this might be a reason why I got nominated. Hell yeah, nepotism. Michael Verratti, he directed the award show. And he's actually the voice. Cool. If you've watched my older stuff, he's been the voice of one of the spook faces in my old Survivors internet movie, and he is the voice of Dusty the Gnome in Shingles the movie.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. There you go.
And he writes a bunch of Christmas rom-coms, and apparently the Fangoria editor was on Michael's ass about writing an Amityville Christmas movie, and then as soon as I released mine, Michael went, buckle up! It's done by this guy. Well, but I reached out to him and said, hey, so I have an idea for a bit, but it's your show. And, like, I don't want to step on anyone's toes. I don't want to get you in trouble. I don't want to, like, make this a disaster. I don't want to go over time. Like, here's my idea. And I told it to him. He's like, hey, yeah, we'll do that. So I'm like, great.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. I wondered if you pitched the bit, because, you know, for those of you who listen to the episode, go back and listen to it for a little more detail if you want. But, you know, the category you won for was Best Amityville.
Yes.
Right. And then you came up and you know, kind of were the voice of Christmas spirit, if you will. You kind of started doing the monologue from Scrooged and all that stuff. And Steve and I were we were speculating. We were like, I bet he pitched that bit. I bet he pitched that bit to him.
It was great. The presenter played along and everything. I had the whole speech memorized. If he would have let me go, I would have been in tears by the end of it, but I would have done the whole thing for Fangoria's Chainsaw Awards.
No, it was perfect. Like I said, super endearing moment, really genuinely funny moment. And we were psyched. We were psyched to see it and to
I
see
had to do it.
On,
I love that
speech.
There. Like, unironically, I love that speech. Brings me to tears every time I watch the movie.
It's amazing.
Christmas. My movie was a Christmas movie, so I was just like, I'm going to have the spotlight. I'm going to thank, like, the 3 people that matter, and then I'm going to go right into it as fast as possible so that I can get through as much as possible for. And Michael, I just give me a few moments and then just signal for me to get taken off. And he's like, yeah, absolutely. So that's what happened, and it was perfect. And I just kept on yelling it as I was being pulled away. It cracked me up when I saw it. And it was a lot of people, again, on Twitter were like, that was amazing. Who is this guy? And that made me feel good. I like that.
Yeah, I definitely saw a lot of like just regular people on Twitter that I don't think was connected to you, just being like, that's the speech from Scrooged. Is he just like, as people were like live tweeting the show?
I appreciate enough people got it.
Yeah, it was great.
But yeah, it was great. Well, I hung out for a while, hung out with, like the writer of Megan, and, the one actress from it. Got to meet, quite a few people, and I won't name every name, but it was great to hang out with a bunch of really awesome people, some of whom I've looked up to, and, we were just all there as peers. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
The best part was after I did my bit, crew members came up to me and said, that was funny, and crew members never fucking lie to you.
Right.
Like, there was no reason for crew to ever kiss your butt. So when they said that was funny, I was like, oh, okay. Thank God.
Yeah. They got no skin in the game.
Yeah.
They're getting paid. They don't give a shit.
Yeah. They're doing union job. They're there for this thing, and then they'll be on something completely different the next day. Don't give a shit.
Right.
And I had In-N-Out as my victory dinner, which is fantastic.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Do you go to the one by the airport? You got to watch out. They'll straight break into your car in that one.
I don't know that's like near the airport is in this sense.
Well, you didn't go through LAX. So the one by LAX, that's the one everyone goes to on the way to LAX and gets their car broken into and gets their luggage stolen. Somebody's got a sweet grift going at that In-N-Out burger where they just steal tourist luggage. Yeah. They're making a living on it. That's awesome. Yeah, we were super psyched to see that, and it was fun covering that, covering the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards too, because it's we didn't do in the past, and it was something we've been watching since I was a kid. So,
surprise! One of your guests was on it.
Yeah, that was amazing, and we actually had oh my gosh, his name is escaped me. The director of the Sadness.
Oh, Rob Jabaz.
Rob Jabaz, who was a guest on the show, he was nominated, I believe, as well. So we were like, "Oh, look at us! We got a couple of big shots on the old podcast." So
yeah, I believe he was nominated for first time feature because The Sadness was his first feature.
Yep. And then something that wasn't as good one. I don't remember what it was. Anyway, that's how it goes sometimes. Let's talk about Shingles the movie.
Absolutely.
So before we do that, because I hate waiting until the end, because I always forget and wait till the end. Before you explain to us, Shingles, because there's some explanation to take place here. Tell the folks where they can find this movie, and really any of your movies, before we get too deep in, and then I completely forget.
Absolutely. So Shingles the movie is sold physically by the clients who hired me to make the movie. So if you go to shinglesthemovie.com, you got to buy the DVD or the Blu-ray from them. It is also on my streaming service, stevebuster.com. It is there in 4K. There's also an extended uncut sex scene only on Steve Buster that they had me trim down for the official release.
Is this a gnome? Is a gnome involved in the sex scene by chance?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. All right. Gotcha.
And of course, it is currently on Tubi, and it's available to rent on Amazon Video as well. So you have a bunch of options for Shingles wherever you want to check it out legally without ad blocker. You have all those options, and all my other movies, including the just released CarousHell 3, is on CarousHell.com or SilverSpotlightFilms.com. They both lead to the same store.
Nice. Yeah, I'm excited to. We've covered CarousHell 2. Well, I think we covered both of them, right?
1 and 2 at the same time, and then that led us to have Steve on for Amityville, and it's like, at that time, I think you were either just starting production or in the middle of production of Shingles, and now it's like almost a year later, and you have Shingles is out and everybody's watching it, and like you just said, CarousHell 3 is releasing on different platforms. I think you mentioned CarousHell 3 will be up on Steve Buster September 1st for people who want to watch it that way.
Now came out Friday, and digitally it'll be on Steve Buster September 1st, and I did submit it for the streaming services, but that's always like out of my hands. I never know. I never have a date. Like Rumorg was even like, so when's the official streaming date? I'm like, do you understand that they don't tell us?
Hold on. Let me call 1-800-Tubi and ask them.
Hey, Mr. Tubi.
Mr. Tubi Esquire. But yeah, and just for some information or whatever, you Google Steve Rudzinski, you're going to find some stuff on the movies. I got the IMDb page up here right now. Fantastic cover on this. I got bought the DVD of Shingles the movie, and the cover, the look on Ben, we'll talk about Ben, who cracks me up. The look on his fucking face on the front is hilarious. I
designed that cover, so I'm glad you like it.
Oh, it's great. It's beautiful. So yeah, tell the folks about Shingles and the involvement with it's kind of a project that has lived in literary form, and then now obviously that's why it's the movie, right?
Yes. So it's this group called Authors and Dragons, and Shingles is mostly the brainchild of one specific author, Robert Bevan, but it apparently had been their dream for a while to do a Shingles movie, to kind of make an anthology, take a few of the books, put it together in one script, and make it a movie. But they had no idea how to start. They didn't know what step one was. They didn't know who to go to. They didn't know how to make a movie. And they had discovered CarousHell because they do like a bad movie watch Saturdays, apparently, where they watch and rip on movies like MST3K. And two of their fans suggested CarousHell. You guys got to watch CarousHell. And it was apparently their worst episode ever because they were just watching the movie and laughing. Like they weren't cracking jokes. And and they had me on their show, on like their podcast as a guest, to talk about the movie, and I talked about the budget and like the scheduling and how I did it and how long it took and yada yada yada. And I guess apparently once I got off the air, privately they were like, I think this is the guy that could make Shingles. I was on pre-production for CarousHell 2 at that point, so I'm in production for CarousHell 2. I'm making CarousHell 2. We're in editing. They reach out to me and say, hey, we really want to make a Shingles movie. We want to hire you as the producer and director. We have a script. Can we give you the script and you put together like a budget? And I'm like, yes. So I got Scott Lewis. I got Aline Isley, kind of like my Trinity at the time, and like I gave them a very detailed spreadsheet of what each story would cost, what my salary would be, Scott's salary, Elaine's salary, because I needed her as a production manager. I wouldn't have been able to do a project this big all by myself. And went back to them with it. Now, I will say first, the middle story was different. It wasn't Aliens Rector Kegger. It was Slaughter on Giggle Time Mountain. And it was a great story. I loved it. It was my favorite one. But it would have been more, that 20 minutes of the movie would have been more expensive than all of CarousHell.
Yeah.
Because it took place in an amusement park.
Yeah.
There was 3 human slashers, 1 supernatural slasher, and like 40 people there because they were reopening the park. And there was going to be a bunch of killing. And I was just like, hey, guys, so I'll make this because this is awesome. Are you comfortable with spending 5 figures on only this story?
Right.
Yeah.
If you can get it, great. If not, you might want to switch it out. So that's what they did. They basically went with a B script then, which was Aliens Rector Kegger, and held on to the A script just in case they got that much money together, or they didn't, which is fine. Maybe down the road. So, you know, I went through the script. And once they were serious about it, because like we pitched them a real number, we pitched them, you know, like it's going to be like $50,000 to make this movie because you have all these characters and all these locations, and you want me to do all this stuff, and Scott's going to have to do all this stuff, yada yada yada. And they said, yeah, that's fine. That's less than we expected, and which is true because if they went to anyone else, I guarantee they would have been like $500,000, $150,000 easily. But I said, okay. Great, so signed the contracts. We released CarousHell 2, and then like 2 months later, we were in pre-production officially for Shingles the movie. It's their script, but I definitely touched it up a bit because the original script was like 300 pages, and I was like, oof. I'm not going to make an indie horror comedy over 2 hours long, so it's an hour 57 minutes. So I cut out some.
He squeaked under there, yeah.
Yeah, I cut out some scenes. I cut out some like characters that were just there because I guess they appeared in the book, but like they literally showed up to say a line. I'm like, I'm not going to hire an actor for $75 to $100 for their day rate to step on the set for 5 minutes and save you money here. And little stuff like adding in a couple jokes that I liked, taking out a couple of the more offensive jokes that I didn't like. And
well, and that's kind of, I guess that's the, and I know, you know, I'm more familiar with your work than I am with Shingles and the stories and stuff, but that's a little bit their flavor, right? It's a lot of like offensive, gross out
that is
type
completely
of like
flavor for Shingles. Yeah.
So, and I should say for the people at home or for the listeners, like, you know, it's essentially like an adult, a really kind of, and I mean this in the nicest way, like sleazy take on Goosebumps.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So like, yeah, the obviously like part of the shock value, part of the sense of humor is, yeah, I mean, listen, there's a scene where a lawn gnome is getting his asshole licked and while someone's snorting cocaine, you know, like it's that sort of thing, right? It's that sort of, so I can only imagine some of the things that got cut out.
But it's still like the tropes that you remember from Goosebumps of ventriloquist dummies, lawn gnomes, like a lot of those were
lawn
like
gnomes coming to life, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of the, you know, the seminal characters from those books, but like retranslated into this terrible sleaze. And even though Steve is saying like he cut a lot of offensive jokes, there's still a lot of fucking just gross out and just like.
I definitely did want to change the tone of what the fans of Shingles wanted. You know, this was the first.
Of course,
aside from like my own sequels, this was definitely the first time I've made a movie that already had an established fan base and expectations and fans all over the world. Like when they have their own Authors and Dragons convention, people are flying in from like Singapore and like the UK. Like, like people care about this stuff. So it was definitely a case for like, I don't want to change the soul of what these books are. I don't want to change the soul of what the movie's supposed to be. But at the same time, A, for marketing reasons, some of this more offensive stuff has to go. And, you know, B, it's not my style completely. But at the end of the day, it was work for hire. I'm the director. I'm not the writer.
Right.
So I wanted to do what they wanted to do and stuff like that. They also don't really they really dislike Zack Snyder's movie. So I put in more than one line about Zack Snyder's movies in the film and then deliver to them without them knowing, just being like, here's the final cut. Can't change anything.
Boop, boop, boop. Oh, well. So what Steve is really saying is some things in Shingles, the books, are exactly like Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian. It's completely unfilmable.
Some of it is. All the characters were supposed to be like 11-year-old kids.
Right, yeah.
And that was one of my first lines in the sand, just being like, I'm not going to be around a bunch of children and have them say this heinous stuff about molestation and racism. And like, my line in the sand is, we need to say that these characters are 16 so that I can hire adults. Like, first big change that I'm saying you got to make. And they were all like, yeah, that's fine. That makes sense. And also it's just easier because when you work with kids, there's like more laws, even if you're non-union, when it comes to like how many hours the kids can work, not shooting at night. And several of these scenes had to be at night, so it was easier, but fortunately they agreed. And I was able to work with really talented adults like Jenny Hoppus and Ben Deedles and Ian Sonny. Honestly, he stole the show as his like first feature.
Nice.
Yeah, and there's nothing funnier to me than and I don't know how old Ben is. I imagine he's around our age, maybe 40-year-old man with a stubble, pretending to be 16 and talking like a child.
Yeah,
that alone
to be playing teenagers. That was me.
Right. Yeah. The little finger point to the side is just,
and then point at Ben. Yeah.
Was very funny. And then also, like
it's
you're saying,
annoying because like a lot of reviewers are like, oh, all these like 30-year-old adults are playing kids. I'm just like, Ian's 19 when we shot this movie. Jenny's just turned 21, and I think Jake was like 20. So like everyone's just shy of being a teenager. Only Ben was a 75-year-old man.
but he's got those boyish good looks. He can pull it off.
He does.
Come on.
I'll say Jenny though is also like, I think Ben and Jenny are the two like standouts for me in this film. But there's just something hilarious about Jenny's character being so obtuse and just unaware that it comes off incredibly childlike, but it's like, God, you should know so much better, because she looks older. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, and I just genuinely enjoyed the which I assume this is a character in the books, that her name is Buick.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I grew up, we've talked about this in the show, Steve and I both grew up just very white trash, right? So like very, I grew up in a very rural environment and all this stuff. So I had a lot of Mercedes, and stuff like that. Like I grew up, stuff like children named after cars, not that far out, but something about the bluntness of Buick. And
you can only assume that's where she was conceived.
Yeah, that's what you got to assume, right? Yeah.
That was actually a change from the books, but that was a change that the writer made. Yeah, I think in the book her name was something like very simple, like Sarah or something. And then Steve Weatherall, he's the guy who wrote the book, Put Your Hand on My Ass. He's the one that basically wrote the screenplay.
Okay.
And adapted the book, so he changed some stuff up, and he changed the character's name to Buick, which I thought worked great. Like, Bevan even came up to me and was like, what do you think about the name Buick? I'm like, I understand you're not a huge fan because he changed your character's name, but I think that's way funnier and really hammers home what kind of character this is.
Well, and also the character's father is a character that never appears on screen, but you hear so much about. And he's like a total piece of shit, but he is, I've never seen this character. He never appears on screen, but you got to assume he's the type of person who would name his child Buick.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, it makes sense. So I wanted to go through, we won't go through super, super in depth, obviously, but the first one is the only one that I didn't write down the name of the book, which was the Christmas zombie story.
Yes, that's the name of the book? Legend of Jimmy Headshot.
I knew it had the name Jimmy. Yeah, so it's kind of this quick kind of come up type of story, teenage boy. The zombie apocalypse starts and he's like, I've been waiting for this, motherfuckers. Just starts shitting all over his parents, saying the most horrible things to them, which, this like, young, kind of, I don't want to say nerdy, but kind of innocent looking young guy. You're just saying these horrible things to his parents. Which was a lot of fun.
Xbox Live kid. We know the type.
Yeah. He's an edgelord.
And he goes by his, he's an edgelord.
He said the N-word a lot.
Yeah. Screams it into his headset on, every 5 to 10 minutes. But yeah, his name is Jimmy Headshot. That is his gamer tag. And he's, assumedly learned all this stuff from his years and years of gaming. The second one, which was, I want to say probably the longest one of the lot.
It was,
close to it. Yeah, which is the one with Ben,
Put Your Hand on My Ass.
Your hand up my ass.
Yeah.
Put Your Hand up my ass. Yeah. Which is kind of the parody of Slappy, right, from the dummy from the Goosebumps series. Love this one. It was Ben's hilarious. Like I said, love the Home Alone reference right off the bat, where he's explaining. He's like, one, this, and B, this, which I never get sick of the buzz gag.
D.
Yeah, that's it. A2D.
That I added. I love that bit. I do that bit all the time. Barely anyone catches it, so I'm always happy when someone does, because that's my favorite joke in that movie.
Oh, great gag. And my other favorite line for this one I had to call out, which is this is when they're talking about it at the beginning before they even get into it. Only two type of people join Gooter Scouts. You're either dirt poor or your parent or their parents hate them. Which was a great gag. Great line. But yeah, Ben's story, his dad kind of tells him the story about his great grandfather, and you get this, you get introduced to Sloppy, which is, like I said, is the magical dummy. I wanted to ask, because I didn't know the story, but I imagine there's something about it in the book which you're probably more familiar with. But the idea of it seemed like it was kind of maybe an inside joke or a callback around how Sloppy became a magical dummy. As one point he says he was cursed by a wizard's ghost, and then another time says he was cursed by a goblin's dick, which I don't know if that is a reoccurring bit in the story, or is that something that was added?
Unless I'm forgetting a part of it, you never find out Sloppy's origins. It's always just he makes something up every time.
Like he's a magical living dummy, but he's also kind of a grifter. He's trying to get people to do awful things, kind of a djinn kind of thing.
He's essentially doing like the Joker from The Dark Knight, who always retells his origin story wrong, just to fuck with people.
Yeah, I like that. I laughed out loud at the line when Ben is talking to his dad, and Ben's playing this like his name's Billy. The character's name's Billy. This very kind of naive. I think he mentions that he's 6. I think he's supposed to be 16, right?
16 and a half.
You said, yeah. And he is, but he's very naive, like a little bit childish. And he's like, Dad, I seriously thought you killed a toddler and like dressed him up in a little suit with a monocle. That bit, I lulled at that.
Was straight from the book. That was like unchanged, word for word. Yeah.
I think a lot of it is like Ben's delivery, but he has so many like lines that come across as almost I think you should leave bits, because like within that same scene after that is like he's storming off and his dad's telling him to brush his teeth, and he's like, I'm not 15 anymore, I love dental hygiene.
I'm not 15 and a half anymore.
A really, really funny guy who could carry this story, because most of the story is just Will and the dummy. So I needed someone that was good at comedy. Originally in the book, it's a fat kid, and in the script, it was a fat kid, and there was just a bunch of fat jokes, and I had to sit down with the authors and say, like, hey, I'll try to audition this, but like it's not going to be easy to like put out an audition call like, hey, are you chubby? You got to take this role where you make fun of yourself, the thing you're probably the most insecure about.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, we only got like 2 auditions from huskier actors, and they weren't very good. So I was like, I got to get a good actor for this. Like, we need to rewrite this to not make fun of fat people. That doesn't sell that well, and it's harder to cast. And once I got the approval, I was like, Ben, I need you.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can tap him on the shoulder, right, that'll make things easier. Yeah, because he's the culmination. I won't spoil the whole thing, but ultimately, it culminates in Ben violently vomiting and shitting himself on stage, and oh no, now I'm peeing too. Why would the laxative make him pee?
He just did.
Great. Just all his bodily functions are just going wild.
Just every time he's selling anything is just fantastic. I also wanted to point out, like in this little chapter, Steve, you have a great part as a flop sweat comedian, which
thank you.
That just the sweat all over your face and just the way you're trying to deliver is hilarious. And then the voice of Sloppy is actually also the voice of Duke from CarousHell. So
yes,
just a thing that, a fun thing for people to know about.
Yeah. I when I watch that, watch like a bit with somebody like flopping on stage and sweating and all that stuff and just crickets. I worked at a comedy club in college, and I saw that exact thing happen in real life so many times that it gives me like flashbacks when I'm like, you can be done now. Like, come off the stage. Just somebody just up there telling street jokes, like reading them off a piece of paper. We'll move on here. The next one is Aliens Wrecked Our Kegger, which, Steve, you have a big part in, along with the gentleman who played Smasher, which we later learn is also Tony. He's a wrestler, right?
Yes, he's a pro wrestler. PB Smooth, Paul Bilbo.
Yeah. Enormous guy. I don't know how tall he is.
6'9".
I was gonna say
that's not kayfabe. That's
he's huge, which made the whole thing funnier because it was kind of like, he was kind of the, it was the Of Mice and Men duo a little bit, if you will, early on. Like, he didn't say a lot, and then later, when he was like affected by the aliens and then became like intelligent, then goes off the aliens. But
it turns into flowers for Algernon. He gets smart.
Yeah. But the bit of somebody who's enormous, like, and just towering over the like guy who's in charge that's classic, always going to be funny.
Yeah, every framing is Steve, up the PB Smooth, Pretty Boy Smooth's nipple. And then, and it looks like
there's one shot where I stood on a box because there was no way to get us both in the shot.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I was very much like, no, I want this to be very clear how much larger he is than me.
Yeah. and it's like the old cartoon of the Big Dog, Little Dog.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. It's Lenny and what's the guy from Of Mice and Men? Carl? Lenny and Carl? Does that sound right? No,
That's
Lenny
the
Carl from The
Simpsons.
Simpsons. Wait, what's there's Lenny from Mice and Men, and
Lenny and George.
Is the other guy's name?
George.
I like Lenny and Carl better. So long story short, some aliens show up and kind of intrude on the keg party, on the beer Olympics at the fraternity house. Who were the two who played the aliens? Because they were fantastic.
We had Blake O'Donnell, who has worked with me before on the Meowie films. He's hilarious. He's also an amazing comedic actor. And once I had this script and I was like in charge of who I got to cast, I was like, Blake, will you do this? Like, give me an audition just to make sure, but you have this role. And I was right. Mm-hmm. And then Jessa Flux, who's a very popular scream queen. Honestly, she's high in demand, and she doesn't get to just do straight up comedy roles that often.
Yeah.
So
they both had the physical thing down.
I offered, like, at first I was just talking to her about Madame Wanda and Just Say No, but then when I got the idea, I was like, wait, what if I made her Zip? What if I made her one of the aliens? And I was like, can you do this sort of like comedic thing? And she did this great audition over the phone live, like on the spot. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, you're in. And yeah, she was fantastic.
Yeah. I wanted to ask about her and Pretty Boy Smooth, and we can come back to him in a minute. But like, I was looking at her IMDb, and I actually see her pop up on my Twitter a bunch because Lloyd Kaufman's always retweeting stuff from her. But like, if you look at her IMDb, she has like 14 credits, and then she has 14 upcoming credits. So
yeah,
but like, it looks like she is a part of like a new movement of just new low budget indie sleaze, which I really want to watch. Like, she has 2 movies that's not CarousHell 3 that I want to see. Murder Size and Triple XS Christmas. They both look.
Murder Size is great.
Yeah.
Murder Size just came out or not, but I follow them. Just came out because I followed the couple of people involved with the project on Instagram, and they were promoting it. Some of the promo videos and stuff looked really funny.
Jessa had a goal like last year where she wanted to act in a different movie every single month.
So, I think she hit it.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
I wanted to ask about Pretty Boy Smooth though, because for the people who aren't part of our Patreon and aren't watching, live, you're wearing a Kenny Omega shirt. So quite obviously a pro wrestling fan. And, for spoilers later in this segment, there was a showdown between the aliens and the frat guys, and the aliens do a Super Sentai pose, and the frat guys do the entire DX 90s pose. So
basically, yeah,
it's obviously you're a fan of pro wrestling before you got into before you did Shingles, but like, did you know Pretty Boy Smooth before this, or did you? So you met him?
No, he auditioned. Yeah, we met on Shingles. Like, I put out the casting call. He was just one of the auditions. But we clicked because, especially with who played Smasher, like, I explicitly set up a private Discord or Zoom call. I forget what we used, just because it was so important that Clyde and whoever this actor was, that we had good chemistry.
Right.
So we called, we chatted for a bit, we did the scene, and then we just talked. I was like, yeah, this is the guy. Like, he's going to be great. And, we've stayed friends. He came back. He was really excited to come back for CarousHell 3. Did me a real solid, doing that for in such a short notice and such a short amount of time, and really helped. And he, there's an action sequence in CarousHell 3 where I asked him for help, and he got in touch with a few of his pro wrestler friends, and I have a couple pro wrestler friends, so it's like me versus 5 people who all know stunts, and it came together really well, and it was thanks to Paul. But yeah, it did not know each other before Shingles. So happy he auditioned, so happy we cast him, because he is fantastic.
Yeah, I was just curious because, you guys do make a good tag team. But also I saw like the BTS of CarousHell 3 where like, you have the wrestling ring and everything going on. So I just wondered, how much you guys knew each other before this and how much that affected CarousHell 3 coming up.
Yeah, didn't know each other at all, but as soon as he was doing such a great job on Shingles, once I had the character idea for CarousHell 3 and who the character was, that's when I pitched it to Aline that it would be PB. Because if you guys remember CarousHell 2, right? Do you remember Klaus, the Nazi that at one point pretended to be a hot dog salesman? He was in so deep that he had a family as Tom the hot dog salesman, and PB is his son.
Oh God!
The 6'9" giant black gentleman is short, pasty white blonde German Klaus's son.
Nice.
Once I thought of the idea, I pitched it to Aline, and she said, "Oh my God, yes." And once I pitched it to PB, he's like, "Oh, let's get it. Let's go."
Oh, that's awesome. I'm trying to figure out what you guys' tag team would be called, and I just can't get away from the fact that there's no J in your name, because PB and J would
My
be
middle name's John.
There you go.
Fucking A. There you go. There you go. Easy. Done. Fucking wrap it up. All right. Yeah,
I did thirst traps, because his character is being the playboy, that's his character. So I would just show up with a thirst trap belt, and we would just both compete for women.
There you go.
Yeah, I loved the other bit that I just couldn't go without mentioning was everyone in the house's name is Tony. Was that part of the story? Or was that something you guys added on?
That's a book thing. There were actually a couple more Tonys in the script, but people kept on dropping out, or I kept having to fire people because of their schedule or because of their attitude. So it got to the point where I called the authors and dragons and said, "Hey guys, hipster Tony fucking died. He's gone." So that's a line in the movie, because that's what I had to do in real life. Tony's gone.
Yeah. No, that was a great one. It's R.I.P. Because you got Denim Tony, Cool Tony, and Hot Tony,
Smooth
who keeps
Tony.
spraying himself.
Tall Tony.
Smooth Tony, that's right. Tall Tony.
Siberian Tony, German Tony, the two good boys.
Journey Tony.
Were they always dogs?
No, the house that we shot in belonged to who played Tall Tony and Smooth Tony, and those are their dogs.
Nice.
And they're so cute that I was like, I'm going to get these dogs in the movie, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a great one. I won't spoil the ending of that one. We'll jump into just say no. So this is the one with Buick, right?
Yes.
She's telling the story about she's tasked with taking a yard gnome to the dump for $1. She's trying to make some money.
Yes.
And of course this gnome, she learns, is a magic gnome that shits cocaine.
Sentient killer objects is now my fucking career. Is that I'm talking animals. I can't escape it.
You might be the sentient talking object guy now. But yeah, this one, you know what? It's got to be easier. Given the option between shooting a sentient talking object and an animal, one's a lot easier than the other one.
Between the two, yes, the object is easier, but the animals are still easier than most humans that I've worked with. So
that's fair enough.
CarousHell is like the fastest shooting schedule because most of the movie is me and an object or a mascot suit.
Nice. Yeah.
Half the time is CarousHell one.
Who did the because there was some great there were some really, really cool practical effects. The drill eyeball spinning inside the skull in this one was really cool. Who did the practical effects?
Cody Rook, same guy who did CarousHell 1, 2, the Demon Dog from Meowie Halloween. He's back with us for CarousHell 3. We first started working together on my 2014 film Red Christmas, which I think is my worst movie, but I'm glad I made it.
Hey, you got to do something.
Well, that
gotta get started somewhere.
One movie's got to be your worst movie. No, that was such a cool effect, and there was some other. Overall,
he's great. He made Dusty
stuff
from scratch. Like that was an original design that he made. He made us like a half dozen Dusties. He made breakable Dusties. He made Dusties that were foam on the inside, so we could throw it through the window and stuff like that. And a couple Dusties with the face, and then one Dusty with a tube through his ass, so that we can
for the cocaine,
the powdered sugar in, and just go.
Are you going to tell me you didn't use real cocaine? Because that's very un-Hollywood.
We did not have that much of a budget.
You just ruined the movie magic.
Now you're breaking kayfabe.
You should just insist that it was, yes, we bought, and the budget, guys, when you talk to the authors and
$20 million.
Yeah, sorry, guys. Our Coke budget just went through the fucking roof. And just a little teaser on this one. Ultimately, they do take the cocaine shitting gnome to an S&M hot dog shop.
Yes.
After making another redneck snort cocaine out of his asshole. So if you don't got any plans Friday night, I'm just saying.
That was one of my favorite changes from the script / and the book is that the S&M waiter was supposed to be very hypersexual. Like this was supposed to be, he's really into it, and like he's basically like being very sexual to this character that's supposed to be a kid. And I pitched, and thankfully they agreed. I pitched the idea as like, okay, what if I don't change any of the lines, but this is a script that corporate forces him to read, and he fucking hates it.
Yeah, it's like a theme restaurant.
Right. Yeah. He's not into this. This is just his job, and they like the idea. And I think it's way funnier as this guy's just like, "Welcome to," and like that's his tone the whole fucking scene. And I'm glad because it's way funnier to me.
Yeah, no, that was great. And of course, he's wearing like S&M gear, like a pentagram chest strap thing and everything. It's great. Yeah, so I won't, because there's then kind of a wrap up to the wrap around.
Yes.
Where and then you get a story within the story that you think is real, and then the one thing I would assume is a bigger part of the book or books. I'm going to assume is the Scoutmaster or Scout Leader
Gary, I guess. Yeah, Scout Leader Gary, I think is his official name. I don't know how much Gary is a returning character specifically, but I know that Cooter Scouts is in several of the books. I know Hello Titty is in a lot of the books, so it was very important. That was one of the first questions I got from these fans, was just like, is Hello Titty in the movie? And we just showed the sign, and they're like, also, Boner Bob's lube, or like industrial lube, is in the books a lot, and I try to get that in the movie, and we actually made the prop and we shot the scene where Jimmy pours the lube onto the ground to make zombies slip, but it looked absolutely terrible, like embarrassingly bad, so I just cut it, and I feel bad, but it did make it into the card game Shingles the movie the game.
Yeah. Oh yes, that's right, you did say that. I think you mentioned that before, that there was going to be, at that time at least, a Shingles the movie the game. Yeah,
because I love Street Fighter the movie the game. That title makes me laugh all the time, so when I saw the opportunity
Yeah, it's the board game equivalent of wine that's in a bag and then that bag is in a box.
Exactly.
You know, but it was a video game that got made into a movie, but then that movie got made into a
But Hairspray was a movie and then became a musical, but then that musical got turned into a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm currently working on the video game adaptation of that. Yeah, so that was my other question. You beat me to it, but is there any other things that, you know, I know, not knowing a ton about Shingles the book series, I do know that, you know, that there's a lot of fans around it, a lot of people that are super into it and engaged with that world. Was there any other characters that they were like, if you guys make another one, or I know you mentioned one of the stories that was going to be really expensive, or were any other characters or nods or anything they were like, we got to put in another movie if we make it?
The character the fans were most excited for was Jimmy Headshot going into it, which is cool. And that put a lot of pressure on Ian, which again, this was his first time he was acting in more than like just a small play. Jenny, at least, was like more experienced with doing a lot of stage plays and musicals, even though this was her first feature film. But Ian was like coming in real green, and now he had all the expectations of these fans. But after we were wrapping on the first one, the Shingles fans said the most they want to see in the sequel is Jesus. Apparently Jesus is a recurring character in the Shingles series.
Sure.
And I'll do that. I don't care. But I don't know how they would do that in the script. I don't know if I don't know if there's going to be Shingles 2. I know that they're doing pretty decently.
Yeah.
They're not getting rich because this is independent cinema, but they're doing pretty decently. So it may be on the docket, but I don't want to make any promises.
Well, fingers crossed, and we can hope for the best and hope for more.
It helps that they're also selling books.
Right.
It helps that they have it's other avenues. It's not just the movie. So if they're also seeing an increase in book sales in addition to what the movie sales are, I think we're in a good spot. But balls in their court.
Yeah, there's got to be a halo effect there, right?
That's the hope. Like when they were pitching the movie idea to me, they were like, "Yeah, we know like it's hard to make your money back on a film, especially when it's an indie with no names. But we kind of want this to be advertising for the books because this will be on streaming forever. For years and years and years, people will be discovering it at Halloween time or whatever." I'm like, yeah, they came at me with like a good mindset. It wasn't like someone that had like, I got an idea for a movie. We're going to use $1 million and hire Tom Cruise, and then we're going to be billionaires. No, like it was a very realistic and correct mindset that they approached me with, which is another big reason why I was very willing to do this and excited for it, because they knew what to expect. They kind of knew what they were aiming for. And it was goals that I believe we have been able to accomplish and hopefully will continue to accomplish.
So they were prepared to run a marathon and not a sprint.
Yes.
Yeah, and also just view it as that tertiary marketing for the brand at large, right? I would never know. Well, obviously, this is a weird circumstance because we know you're on the show, but I would never know what Shingles was without seeing this movie, right? But now I'm interested in it. Now I've seen the movie. Now, so and loving weird books. Like I will most likely check them out at some point. So it's a
and on Amazon for pretty cheap.
Forward-thinking initiative.
It's an easy gamble to make, I guess.
Yeah. What about the we talked about CarousHell 3. What else is anything else coming down the pike, or anything else you're kind of excited about or getting your creative juices flowing in the future here?
Just released CarousHell 3. Fuck you.
What's next? Don't take a breath. Don't take a breath.
I made the whole movie in the past. Like we wrote it in February. We raised the money in April. I shot it in June. I cut it in July, and now it's out. That's the new thing. There's nothing else after that right now.
All right. Well, talk to us about CarousHell 3. What was kind of, obviously as you progress this franchise, and the sequels and everything around it, like, are there some things, without giving away spoilers or anything, some things that, you were like, when you were thinking back, making the first movie, boy, it'd be really cool if we could do this, that you got to kind of realize that in the third installment?
Yeah, I mean, so like the CarousHell 1 first touched paper in 2014. We weren't able to make the movie till 2016 because of the lack of financing. But then by the time we made it to set, we knew the story of CarousHell 2, not page for page, but like we knew what the story was. We knew the least about CarousHell 3 except for one word: consequences. We wanted CarousHell 3 to be about the consequences of what Duke had been doing before he turned a new leaf. Because that's kind of like the theme and the message and the idea of CarousHell 3 is like, if you're a bad person, you don't have to be a bad person forever. You can change your ways. You can be a better person. That's valid. That's a good thing. But at the same time, the people you hurt don't go away. Like, your sins don't disappear. They still exist. People are still hurt by them. People can still obsess with that. So how do we deal with that? One of the early ideas for CarousHell 3 was it was going to be a team of killer objects that Duke would have to fight, just to increase the threat level. But we weren't married to it. We weren't really into it. We were like, oh, what would the objects be? Yada, yada, yada. And then, because the fans never leaving me alone since 2016, begging for Joe to be back. Is Joe dead? Joe can't be dead. Joe can be alive. Joe. And I finally said in my brain, okay, he's back, but you're not going to like it. But that kind of made the story come together perfectly, because now Joe is the personification of consequences. Joe made it out. Joe lost someone that he cared about deeply and watched Duke kill a lot of people that were pieces of shit and cartoon characters, but in real life didn't deserve execution for their crimes.
And he took his eye.
And so we right. And then, Joe has lost his eye. So Joe is hyper focused on revenge. He is obsessing over it. He's been training with Mascot to be the new agency, to become Cowboy Cold. But even though he's one of the most talented in the agency now, he's so crazy about wanting to kill Duke. Even though the agency knows Duke isn't a Nazi, they don't have to worry about Duke. He's helping them now. Joe doesn't fucking care. Joe is still focused on that. He's trying to hold back because he knows he's a good guy now. I'm doing air quotes, but Joe doesn't trust that. He absolutely believes that Duke can wipe out every human being on the planet, and Joe is ready to stop that. And at the same time, we meet our new main villain, which is another killer object, another volunteer of the Axis, Usagi, who's in a CarousHell rabbit body. And she has been absorbing and taking the power of other killer objects, like a bunch of the other ones we haven't seen yet. We see maybe some other ones in this one. We had the Detective Duck prologue, which was about a loaf of bread killer object. But she's taking pieces from all these other objects to become a god again, because they're all pieces of an old god, pieces of a whole, and she wants to make that whole again. So Duke is now dealing with Usagi, who is insane with power and wants to rule the universe, and Joe, who just wants to hurt Duke because Duke hurt him. And the movie is about just Duke dealing with those two threats at the same time, while also making sure Robbie stays safe.
I am reminded of two movies listening to you so far. Jet Li's The One, and A History of Violence. So there's...
The movie does end with Usagi on a prison plane, and she says, I'm nobody's bitch, you are mine.
Sick.
And then we... no, it's my biggest inspiration for this film, and it'll be very obvious when you watch it, is Batman v Superman. Mm-hmm. The concept of, Duke isn't necessarily Superman in the sense that he was a hero, but his actions had these massive, widespread consequences, and Joe is definitely like the more Bruce Wayne, just lost his fucking mind over it. This is what's been driving him for 5 years now, ever since the events of CarousHell 1. And it comes together really well. I think this script is the best thing that I've written, in my opinion. I love the characterization. I love the pacing. I love the way I tell the story. And I did one screening for the Silver Spotlight Discord, and the fans loved it. They ate it up, and so far the people that have been watching the digital link that I sent them, if they supported the Kickstarter, Letterboxd already has a bunch of 4.5, 5-star reviews from very genuine people that are just I'm not kidding about this rating. This is phenomenal. This series is fantastic. People, one guy outright said that every single entry is better than the last, in my opinion, but they're all so different. Mm-hmm. None of these CarousHell movies feel like the same genre. None of them feel like the same movie, and yet they all work so well because there is a story arc. There are character arcs. There are motivations. There are conclusions. And to me, that was really important, because I'm not saying I'm never going to make a CarousHell again. I'll make 10 of these if people keep on buying them. But this was always intended to be the ending of this story arc.
Right.
And if this is the last CarousHell that I make, which it may be, I don't know what the future is. I may make 10 more. This might be it. I did want this to feel conclusive. And so far, the feedback I've been getting from people is. It feels like a perfect ending for CarousHell, for people that like the first two movies, the people that care about these characters. This is everything you would want from an ending. It answers most of the questions. It doesn't really leave any questions open. You know, like there's some world building, but it's not like explicitly a sequel setup or anything.
Yeah.
This is these movies are so fun, and I'm so looking forward to the third one. I'll probably watch it this weekend, to be honest with you. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. And go watch, like, do yourself a favor, watch the first two. It's really fun. They're all super fun, and especially if you've listened to us talk about the other two already.
And it's one of the great.
If you folks at home,
no, I was going to say,
ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's one of the great parts about indie cinema is that maybe the budget isn't there for the most polished effects, but you can hear Steve talking about it right now. Like he does have a focus on his script, and his characters come through. Like when we talked about CarousHell 2, we couldn't get over how like endearing Robbie is, and like it's too cute and it's too like endearing, but it actually tugs at your heartstrings. But you're just looking at a silly little puppet. But that's what it is when you actually care about what you're making, versus a lot of people who just make a fucking movie and they don't know what they're doing or they don't care about what they're doing, and that's how you get a lot of things on Tubi. But Steve wouldn't be on this show if we didn't actually like what he does and think it deserves a spotlight.
There's two things I'll say to that when it comes to like people not caring. Is that one, I've noticed a CarousHell cycle that keeps happening. Someone who doesn't watch independent horror will discover CarousHell like first and like tweet about how bad it is and how awful it is and like make fun of it, and then they start watching other independent cinema, and then like a couple months later they come back and say, so I was far too harsh on CarousHell because this is way better than everything I've watched since. And it's because I care about telling a real story with real characters, and like I still make live action cartoons, don't get me wrong, but like there still needs to be motivation and drive in this world, in this story with these characters. Otherwise, why do you care? There are definitely some horror fans that hate CarousHell 2 because there's not enough killing. They just wanted killing. I'm just like, I'm not the filmmaker for you, pal. Like I like killing too, but like that's not why I'm making these. If you just want the same fucking movie 5 times in a row, countless indie guys are doing that.
Yeah.
And similarly, just because it's a story that happened again at this last convention I was a guest at, I'm not going to name any names at all, but people were coming up to me and just being like, "Oh yeah, congrats on winning the best Amityville award. So what's your next Amityville movie going to be?" And I'm just like, there isn't a next Amityville movie. I made a joke. I made my point. That's it. What fucking loser is going to make like 4 or 5 Amityville movies? Am I right, fellas? Like, I can't imagine being so... And like, maybe they're passionate about it. I don't know them personally. I don't know the other guys that make multiple Amityville movies. This is coming off as shit talk, but I'm kind of playing it up for the character. Like, they may genuinely, like, they want to make their name in the Amityville movies genuinely.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, I can't imagine that mindset of just like, yep, this is my career. I'm just going to make a bunch of movies in this fake franchise.
Yeah.
And barely try and never go past that. Like, there's a reason why mine won.
Right.
Compared to the, like, guys that made more than one Amityville, even up to that point. Like, there was like a legitimate passion. I was telling a real Christmas romantic comedy film that people appreciated the joke and the characters of. And like so many reviewers on Letterboxd or on YouTube or anywhere, when they're watching on the Amityvilles, 99 times out of 100, they get to mine. They're just like, this one actually cared. This one actually cared about its story. This one actually cared about the characters. It wasn't funny to me. It wasn't my cup of tea or anything like that. But they're still just like, this is seriously one of the best.
Yeah.
That exists because of that. And to me, that's the bare minimum. There's no budget when it comes to that. That's in the fucking script. That is you by yourself with infinite money and imagination at your computer desk writing a script. And if you can't even get to the point of caring about your own characters, about your own story, and telling something that has a reason to exist, and I'm not talking make fucking... I can't even think of a classic off the top of my head. I'm not saying make a classic masterpiece like Revenge of the Fallen or something, but like just put in the effort and the passion that when people walk away from your movie, that they walk away with more than just, yeah, that had a lot of kills.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of horror fans, that's all they want. And I've alienated, some of my audience members from the first CarousHell. But at the end of the day, I think that's what's going to make the CarousHell movies last longer. That's what makes the Amityville Christmas Vacation last longer, and like my other stuff, that it's not just that, which could be replaced by one of any dozen of other films that are doing the same thing.
Yeah, those are the types of movies that are going to be, written by AI soon. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The ones that are just formulaic and, listen, I'm not a filmmaker, I'm a film fan, but I fancy myself an artist at least, and I like to create things. And that's the kind of thing that I always like. I try to remind myself as my true north, even if I'm not doing it professionally, is just make it for myself, and then the rest will take care of it. Like if I don't like it, how am I going to convince someone else that it's genuine? You know what I mean?
There is a balance. Like, don't get me wrong. When I'm still making stuff, there's still the ideas of like, I got to market this. I have to actually be able to sell this. But exactly what you said, if I don't like it, I'm not making this movie. Like the people that said CarousHell 2 should have just been more killing is like, well, then CarousHell 2 wouldn't exist. Because I didn't like that. I didn't like that the sequel is just the same thing again.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it surprised us, but also like, like we already said, like the characters are just far more endearing that time around. And so like it does make you care and makes you interested. And then now that there is a third one and we know that there's finality to it, then it makes us want to continue on watching it. So
please let me know what you guys think once you do watch it.
For sure.
Especially when I'm here, especially when I hear a no of the people that like really got CarousHell 2 and really appreciated it. Mm-hmm. That's who I'm most excited to hear from on CarousHell 3. And for those of you listening at home, if you haven't seen the CarousHell films, but you like physical media, I do have a trilogy set on the store, which is basically buy two movies, get one free, and you'll get all 3 CarousHells for the price of 2 CarousHells. So carousel.com, baby.
Yeah, it's like the Criterion collection, but CarousHell.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I like it. Yeah, I hear you. No more Amityville movies, but I absolutely refuse to believe you will not make any more Christmas movies.
Oh, I'll be making more Christmas. I could, like, my plan for 2024 is to sit down and do nothing unless I get hired for something, because again, like I made CarousHell 2 2 months after release, pre-production on Shingles. While Shingles was being edited, I made Amityville, and then Shingles came out March of this year, and then I immediately was making CarousHell 3, which just came out. I want a break. But during that break, I could see myself doing another like weekend $300 Christmas romantic comedy in 2024. I'm not promising it, but I could see me doing that at least.
Yeah, sounds like
you're not promising it, but we'll be disappointed if you don't do it. So
it sounds like you're owed like 3 martini shots.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun, as always. Super excited to watch CarousHell 3, and I'm sure we'll talk about it on the show. And once again, tell the folks, you mentioned CarousHell.com for that trilogy. Where else can they find some of these movies, including, Shingles, the movie is on the Shingles.
ShinglesTheMovie.com.
Right? ShinglesTheMovie.com.
Yeah.
And where else can they find you on social media and all that good stuff?
Yeah, again, my entire web store is silverspotlightfilms.com. That's all my DVDs, Blu-rays, the card games, posters. I'm going to try to do a CarousHell vinyl next year as well, but that's going to be pre-order only, because when I did the Silver Spotlight 10-year anniversary vinyl, I sat on the last 3 for like a full year, and I don't want to do that again. All of my movies are also on my digital subscription platform on Patreon, stevebuster.com. For $2.99 a month, you get all of my movies plus a couple of shorts that I made specifically for the service. And for $4.99, you get all of the bonus features, all the behind the scenes stuff that was from like every single release I've ever had, plus a bunch of exclusives that are only on the service, plus several of my much older films that I think are embarrassing and make me want to kill myself. But they're on there because the fans asked for them. But they're only in the $4.99 batch, and that's always also how you get access to the Silver Spotlight Films Discord, where we hang out, we chat. Sometimes we watch movies together, or it'll be secret little behind the scenes stuff. Like on Friday, I did a surprise CarousHell 3 premiere for just the Discord. And on socials, on Instagram, it's @DarkMullet. On Facebook, it's Steve Rudzinski. And I think on Twitter or X, it's I think it's Steve Rudzinski.
Yeah.
It's been I just forget what my @ handle is. If you search Steve Rudzinski, you'll fucking find me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just search it. That's what I used to say. All the stuff for Halloween is forever. Is that Halloween Pod there? And I'm like, just put Halloween is forever. It'll fucking come up, guys. Come on.
Yeah,
too many platforms now. But definitely check out Steve and check out his movies. We love.
And they're all
him
on Tubi too.
Love having you on, and they are on Tubi as well. Yeah, we love your work. We love having you on the show, and thanks again for joining us. And hopefully you'll grace us with your presence again down the road. Maybe when that the romantic Christmas comedy that you just promised said comes out.
When a Weeaboo Christmas comes out. It doesn't work out because the love interest is into lollies. And Wally can't get into that.
All right, thank you once again. This is a blast, Stephen. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.